Friends and family, welcome to the Renewal Fitness coaching page and this afternoon's live event. I'm Holly of Renewal Fitness Coaching, if you're not familiar with my page. Um, and here's what we're going to do today. So today is all about ways to get stronger in 2021. And part of the reason why I'm doing this is to give you some practical tips on just gaining strength. A lot of times when you focus on strength, it leads to the aesthetic goals that we have as well. Also, because I've just been feeling like this year is going to require strength. Maybe not as much physical strength, but when we train our physical strength, it spills over into emotional and mental strength as well, and spiritual strength. So I'm going to kind of focus on how to affect all of those things by physically and even mentally strengthening your body and mind. So I'm going to try to keep this fairly short, hopefully under 30 minutes. And what we're going to do is I'm going to cover some basics about how to start building physical strength, or if you've already started, how to advance in that. And then we're going to talk a little bit about nutrition, a little bit about kind of spiritual and mental strength. And then I'm going to finish off going back to the physical, back to exercise. And at the end, I'm going to show you about 5 exercises that are efficient for your full body, great ways to build strength without wasting time, things that are moves that are going to strengthen multiple parts of your body, and some key tips on how to do those, as well as how to regress them, make them a little bit easier, or progress them, make them a little bit harder. Because when you're working out at home, like the majority of people are right now, it's really important to know how you can adapt an exercise to make it easier or harder when you don't just have like a heavier weight to use, which would be the normal way of that a lot of people would progress in their strength. So with all of that in mind, let's go ahead and jump in. Please feel free to comment throughout this, ask questions, and I'll do my best to get to those. All right, so we're going to start by talking about how you can start building strength and advance in your strength this year. So one key tip I have for you is to start small and build from there. A lot of people, when they're ready to work out or want to get even more fit, go like gung-ho super hard and end up really sore and don't want to keep going, or it's too much and they burn out. So it's really easy to start harder than you need to. You can make a lot of progress by starting very small, very simple, and letting your body adapt to those changes. It's really important to be able to adapt, let your body absorb that training, and then build on that. So don't feel like when you start aiming to get stronger and more fit that you have to go super hard, all-out effort. So for beginners, I would recommend, if you're just getting into exercise or you're just kind of starting to strength train a little bit more, it's been a long time, I would suggest that you start with 2 to 3 days of strength training for about 20 to 30 minutes at a time. And then from there, if you want, you can add on some cardio, like 30-minute walks throughout the day, 15-minute walks if that's all you can do. If you're a little bit more fit, you might try a short jog, some hiking, biking, swimming. Any of those things are good for the cardio, building that cardio endurance and heart health. But for building actual muscular strength, I would suggest starting 2 to 3 days a week, 20 to 30 minutes. Again, because you don't need to burn yourself out from the very beginning. Start easy, start light. It's also important to do something that mentally you can stick with. If you tell yourself that you need to work out 5 days a week for an hour, you're probably not going to stick with it. So start small and feel okay about that, and then build from there. You can always add on as you go, but that's going to be better and you're going to stick with it longer term than if you go super hard from the beginning and it's just too much to maintain. All right, so then if you're a little bit more intermediate, a little bit more advanced, what I would suggest is add 1 to 2 days per week of strength training from what you're already doing. Unless you're already working out like 6 days a week with strength, then you don't need to do that. But say you're already doing like 3 days a week, add 1 or 2 more days of strength training. Another approach to that, say you're already working out 5 to 6 days a week, is to increase your intensity or increase your time. So if you're working out for 40 minutes, maybe try 50 minutes. If you are, doesn't really matter time wise, but say you're already working out 5 days a week, but you want to get stronger, then you need to increase your intensity. So lifting a heavier weight, starting to increase the weights that you use, or say you're trying to work on more cardiovascular strength, then increasing to some interval training where you're going faster, pushing yourself a little bit harder. So increasing intensity is a great way to build strength if you're already working out. Some of the other ways that you can do this are slowing down on your form. So say you normally do a squat in like 2 seconds. It's just down and up real quick. One way that you can increase intensity is to reduce that, where it takes maybe 3 seconds to lower down into a squat and 3 seconds to come up. So slow down your pace a lot, and at the same time, watch your form. Pay really good attention to, are you using perfect form? Go online and look at what a squat should look like, or go online and look at what a lunge or a push-up or whatever should look like, and then try to mirror that, because a lot of people knock out these exercises like crazy, but they're not doing it with good form. If you're not using good form, you're not going to get stronger, and you're actually probably going to end up with an injury. So slow it down, pay attention to your form. That's one way to increase your intensity and strength. Another way would be to add in weights. So if you already have good form, you're already familiar with the exercise, you're taking it pretty slow, then add some weights. You don't need to start with hard weight right away. So if you've got this down, you already have kind of a base of strength, you're in that intermediate advanced group, then add on some weight. So if you haven't been using, say, dumbbells for your lunges, then add in 5 or 10 pounds. If you're using 40 pounds for your squat, then try to go to 45. Another thing you can do if you're working out at home is to add in, again, dumbbells, or to use resistance bands to any of your exercises. Those will make them much harder and help you to build more strength. One other last thing you can do, and this is if you're a little bit more advanced, you already have core strength, you have good balance, then what you can try doing is working out one side at a time. So say you're doing a shoulder press, rather than lift the weights and come back down, you're going to do all of your exercises on the one arm, or you can try alternating. And that's going to make it a little bit harder. The other thing you can do is stand on an unstable surface. And the reason for that is it's going to make it more challenging for your core, for your neuromuscular system. So you can stand on something like a Bosu ball or a balance pad, a foam pad, anything that's just a little bit unstable. Or if you're more advanced, you can stand on like a balance board that kind of rocks back and forth to make it a little bit harder. If you want to see what some of those things look like, you can go to my YouTube channel. I have a couple of videos on doing exercises on a balance board. However, if you're a beginner, don't start there. Start on the floor, start on 2 feet, work on building your core strength first, and then you can move to some of those more challenging exercises. So those are a couple ways to start building strength and then continue building strength if you already have kind of a base. Okay, and again, at the end of this, I will go into more specific exercises that you can do, because I know specifics are really helpful rather than just saying go strength train. Not everyone knows what that means. So I'll give those at the end because I'm going to move us into the gym. So for now, I'm going to stay in my office, finish this, and then we'll go to the gym for exercises. Okay, so number 2 on tips for building strength, excuse me, I'll have some water, is nutrition. And specifically within a good, healthy diet is protein. Protein is essential for building muscle, for repairing muscle after you work out, for digestion, producing enzymes. I mean, protein does a ton of stuff beyond just building strength. It's key in hormones, hormone communication, many processes in your body. You need protein, but you really need it when you start strength training and trying to build strength, because that is what your muscles are going to use to repair and rebuild and get stronger. So you need to make sure that you definitely have enough protein in your diet. So again, let's go into a couple of specifics on what that looks like because more protein is kind of vague. Um, and I'm just checking in on the comments real quick. Yes, thanks, Stacey. Stacey agrees that starting small helps a lot, especially to be committed and consistent. Okay, so into protein. A couple tips on protein. Eating enough is essential. What does enough mean? Varied opinions on this, and it does depend on your activity level. So someone who's just starting to work out is going to need less protein than an Olympic athlete, for instance. So there's some variation here, and you will get some differing opinions on this, especially if you're more like on the vegan side or the more keto side or something. But generally safe terms are that you want to consume about 1.2 to 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. And again, this is if you're using weights. Here's an example of what that breaks down to. You kind of got to bust out the calculator, maybe use the online conversion chart for this. But I am approximately 118 pounds. If I convert that to kilograms, then I am 54 kilograms in body weight. So then I multiply that number by somewhere in the 1.2 to 1.5 range. So for instance, my body weight in kilograms, 54, if I multiply that times 1.5 grams per protein, then I'm going to end up at needing about 81 grams per day. Some people go as far as to say 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, which is a much easier way to calculate it. Typically, that's probably going to be a little bit too high because it's hard to get that without eating a lot of meat and dairy, which I recommend eating less of. So I probably am somewhere between 80 and 100 grams of protein per day. So you can kind of experiment with it and see how it works, but generally that's about what you need in order to help build and maintain muscle. Okay, then the types of protein. Like I mentioned, I don't suggest a lot of meat, but when you eat meat, I would highly, highly recommend that it's organic and that it's lean. So like organic grass-fed beef that's maybe like 80%, 80-20%, so the 20% fat or even higher than that. So you're getting like maybe 15% fat and the rest is that more lean protein. Fish is also a good source of lean protein, organic chicken breast. Fish should be wild caught, not farmed. And then more vegetable sources would be nuts, plant sources would be things like nuts, seeds, protein powders like hemp protein, rice protein, pea protein, things like peas and beans and lentils, so beans, legumes, things like that. Another thing that I don't think a lot of people are aware of or use is nutritional yeast, which is basically these flakes that you can just sprinkle on your food. Very high protein, good for the immune system, especially for athletes. I've heard it associated with even things good for things like autism. So that's beyond this conversation, but nutritional yeast has a lot of great benefits to it, and it's high in protein. So I like to sprinkle that on, like after I cook broccoli or cauliflower or something like that, I'll sprinkle it on there. If we're doing something like pasta, sprinkle it on there. So it has kind of a cheesy flavor, so it's a really good way to get in non-dairy protein. And another way, like I mentioned, the protein powders is to do shakes. So a protein shake with, I suggest a vegan protein powder, like I mentioned, rice, pea, there's a variety of them, but hemp, those are some of them. So you can do that as a way to much more easily get in about 20 grams of protein without having to eat a bunch of meat or a truckload of nuts in one serving. Another thing about both protein and calories in general is to eat enough food. You are not going to get stronger without eating enough food. A lot of women actually tend to undereat. Now, a lot of people do overeat. majority of people probably overeat, but a lot of women are so calorie conscious that we undereat. And when you do that, you can't build strength because your body is using all those calories for all of your important body processes. And you're gonna kind of suffer in building muscle and strength if you don't have enough protein and you don't have enough calories. So make sure that you're eating enough. If you need help with that, leave a comment. We can talk after, or you can message me. We can talk about doing an assessment to help you figure out how much you should be eating. And then the last thing about nutrition is to focus on whole foods. So natural, organic things that God put on this earth. Plant sources are great. Limited amounts of meat. And avoiding things that are packaged or processed. Now, sometimes those are natural, healthy foods, so it's not everything, but chips, cookies, a lot of canned soups, microwave meals, meals in a bag, fast food. A lot of the things that are going to be coming in packages are processed and terrible for you. And they take a real toll on your body because your body doesn't really know what to do with those things very well because they're not really food. They're man-made food things, food-like things. So it's a lot harder on your body to process those. And so again, a lot of your resources are going to go to figuring out what the heck to do with that food and detoxing your body from it versus your body being able to use all these natural healthy foods to build strength. And when you are eating healthier, more natural foods, you are going to be building your immune system. You're going to be able to build strength, and it's going to be easier to lose weight because your body, again, can process and use these things much better. So it's actually very hard to gain weight, or not even, maybe even hard to not lose weight if you're eating primarily fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, beans, organic meats, and skipping a lot of the dairy, the sugar, the processed things. You do have to be careful. You can always overeat anything, but it's hard to overeat vegetables and fruit, for instance. Like, you'll get really full on not that many calories because of the fiber, the volume. So focus on eating whole, natural foods to give your body the nutrients it needs in order to rebuild and build muscle after you work out. On top of that, having enough calories and having the right kind of calories are good for mental health, and they help you sleep better. They give you enough energy, and all of those things are not only going to make you physically stronger, but they're going to make you mentally stronger as well. And if you're not tired, you're not exhausted, you're not trying to feed off of food-like things, your emotional state is probably also going to be much more stable. Your spiritual state is going to be more stable. And so those are key to getting stronger in every sense of the word, not just physical strength. So really focus on feeding your body well, because that's going to also help take care of your mental and emotional state, which will make you feel much stronger. Then we're kind of going to veer off a little bit from the obvious fitness things like exercise and nutrition, and talk a little bit more on a spiritual and mental level about how to get stronger. One of the keys in getting stronger, both physically, emotionally, spiritually, all the things, is to speak life, speak truth, speak life-giving words over yourself. If you continually tell yourself that you're not strong, that you can't do it, that you're too weak, that exercise is hard for you, that you hate exercise, that you can't eat healthy, that you hate healthy foods, you get the idea. If you continually say those things, you're going to believe them, and you're not really probably ever going to change because you believe that's who you are, and you're not going to get stronger. So it's really important not only what you put into your mouth, but what comes out of your mouth in building strength. When you speak over yourself out loud, things like you're strong, you're ready to work out, you are athletic. You are a fitness person. You love exercise. You love being active. You love moving your body. You're made to be strong. Things like that, if you say them and think them enough, you're really going to believe it. And when you believe that you're a fit, healthy person, you're an athlete, you're someone who's into exercise, you're a healthy eater, you're going to do more of those things. So other examples would be things like you're strong, you're capable, I can do this, I am a strong, healthy woman, I am God's workmanship, I am wonderfully and fearfully made. When I wait on the Lord, my strength is renewed. So some of these are just random thoughts. Some of these are straight from the Bible. But when you say those things to yourself, you're going to believe that that's who you are, and then you're going to start to act like that and begin to do those things in your life. So when you're kind of struggling with not wanting to work out or feeling like you're not capable, try speaking the opposite of that and start changing what you believe about yourself and believing that you're strong and believing that you're capable of getting strong, even if you're not quite there yet. In addition to speaking life-giving words over yourself would be to pray. It's really hard for us to do things in our own strength, and I fully believe in praying to God and asking him for help, asking him to change our beliefs about ourselves, and asking him to help us overcome things like food temptations, help us to get stronger, asking him to give us the discipline to move. Speaking of, as my shirt says, move, pray, love. Loving yourself, praying and asking God to help you do the things, and then actually moving. So those are really important, to ask God for help in doing these things, and you will probably be surprised at how he comes through and helps to break addictions, break unhealthy cycles of thinking. Okay, so again, if you have questions on any of this, want to know more, or want coaching through this, let me know. Leave comments below. Contact me after this is done. I would love to help you. So now that we've kind of worked through spiritual and mental, nutrition, and some basics on getting started with exercise, I'm going to move to some of the practical exercises for you to do that are very efficient, and some tips on how to do them properly, as well as how to either make them easier or harder. So bear with me for a second. We're going to travel to my home gym so that I can show you these exercises much better than in an office. Okay. Let me just get this set up. All right. So, one of the first exercises that I recommend for pretty much everyone, though it may seem basic, is a plank. Now there's a variety of versions of planks, but the basic is on the ground, on your forearms and toes. And then you hold that position. So what you want to focus on is your elbow being right underneath your shoulder and your body in one straight line. So you don't want your butt lifting up in the air. You don't want your stomach sinking down. You want a straight line, and you hold that for as long as you comfortably can. The keys are to focus on keeping your core, your belly button, pulled in really tight, bracing, like as if someone were about to punch you, to really brace that. And then to focus on contracting your glutes, your thighs, pulling your shoulders away from your ear and getting really stiff like a board. Like if someone tried to push you, they wouldn't be able to move you over when you're holding that plank because you're so firm. This is really good to do at the beginning of a workout because it's going to help to activate your core muscles, strengthen those, prepare those, because that is what helps to maintain form and strength in every other exercise. So I like to have people do this at the beginning, which also kind of gets the blood flowing, gets you warmed up a little bit, activates the core, and then that's going to strengthen that and prepare you for all the exercises to come. So if you are just getting started and these are a little bit tough for you, what you can do is drop down to your knees It's a little bit hard to see because I'm on dark pants, but rather than be up on your toes, you simply drop your knees from that plank position and hold that. A way that you can make this harder, if you're already good at planks and you want to get stronger, is to lift one foot up off the floor and still really focus on that straight body, not wobbling to the side or suddenly letting your back arch, but just slightly lifting one foot off the floor. Or when you're in this position, extending one arm, bring it back, and then extend the other and bring it back. So that's the plank. That's exercise number 1. Exercise number 2 is the fire hydrant. So it can be an awkward exercise, so this is a good at-home exercise. This is for your glutes. And most people have weak glutes. So it's really important to exercise them specifically. The glute medius, glute minimus, glute maximus. And again, I like to do these before things like squats or lunges because it gets your glute muscles firing, and a lot of people don't really naturally activate their glutes or don't even know how. So it helps to get the glute muscles firing so that when you go into a squat or lunge or something like that, you're using your glutes, which are key. If you're not using the right muscles, other muscles are going to take over. Your glutes are going to stay weak, and then you might end up with back pain. You might end up with other issues because certain muscles are doing the exercise, of the majority of the exercise when they shouldn't be. So starting with a glute exercise is also very good. And the plank and this exercise, I would even say if you're just starting out or advanced, to even do it every day, just to help build up that strength and get in the habit and get those muscles trained to fire properly. So what this looks like is you're going to be on all fours. So wrists are right underneath your shoulders, knees are underneath your hips, and you're just going to bring one leg up out to the side and back down. So it comes up. You want to be careful you're not tilting your body or wobbling around, and you want to try to keep your toe below your knee. So rather than your knee be way up, rather than your foot be up, you want to have your knee up where it's kind of in line with the glute muscle. So if you're just starting out, you can just do that. Come up, hold, and then come back down. If you're a little bit stronger, those feel easy. Then what you can do is take a band like this and wrap it around your thighs or ankles, depending on your strength. You're just going to wrap it around and then perform the fire hydrant, move out to the side. That'll give you a little bit of resistance to make these a little bit harder. And a really great way to do it is to come up and just hold for about 20 to 30 seconds. That actually is going to give you more of a glute workout than the up and down if you have the band on, because you're fighting that resistance. Sorry, just checking the comments real quick. Jay left a question. Well, I will get to after these exercises. Okay, so then would be squats. Squats, probably one of the most common exercises, but they are one of the best exercises to do. So what I would recommend if you're just getting into exercise, when you're starting to squat, is to grab a chair or a couch or a bench or something like that and start by sitting on the bench. Knees about hip distance, stand up, and then go right back down. And what you're focusing on is pressing through your heels rather than your toes, because a lot of people tend to lean forward into their toes. So you're pressing through your heels, come up, squeeze your core, and then back down. Okay, so that using a bench or a chair really helps with good form, because a lot of people without that are going to do a squat completely wrong and end up probably hurting their knees. So try that first. When that gets easier, you can either add a little bit of weight, like maybe a 5-pound dumbbell in each hand, or from there, then you can go to regular squats without a bench and see if you can still maintain good form. One way that you can make this a little bit harder is getting off the bench and adding weight. Now you can add a resistance band, like if you're at home, that's a great way to do it. You just stand on a resistance band. You put it under your feet. Let me grab one. So you can take a band like this, stand on it, and do your squat this way to add a little bit of resistance. You can also go as far as adding a barbell onto your back, but if you're doing that, you need to make sure you have really good form. So that would be a way to progress it if you're already pretty advanced with squats. And then if you need even more help, you can use a bench and like a bar. If you have like a wall or a bar to hold on to, then that would help you improve your squats, or you can use a higher chair or couch or something to sit on. And then push-ups are another kind of common, basic, seemingly simple, but really good exercise because they work your chest, they work your shoulders, they work your back, they work your triceps, they work so much in your upper body, and they're incredibly hard no matter how many times you've done them. So one way you can make this easier if you're just getting started is just like the plank, come into your push-up position, drop your knees, and then do your push-up from your knees. Just like the plank, you want to make sure that your core is very tight, very flat. A lot of people, when they do push-ups, dip their head and the rest of their body stays up in the air, or their butt goes up in the air, or their stomach sinks and goes towards the floor. So you want to be like a plank in your push-up. Whole body should move together, not like this or not like some kind of weird move. So keep a very flat body. To make it easier, go on your knees. If you want to make it harder, you can change the angle. Like you could put your feet up on a bench and your hands down on the floor and do it that way. If the knee push-up is too hard still, you can also go up against a wall and do a wall push-up at like about a 45-degree angle. Practice there first, or you can use a bench like this and do your push-ups this way, and then you can progress to the floor once that's easier. Next exercise is lunges. So the lunge is like a split squat. So you're going to step back with one leg. Sorry, I know it's hard to see with the dark pants. Come down so your knee almost touches the ground, and then all the way back up. So you can just stay here and do it this way. If these are hard for you, you can grab a wall or something to help you balance. So you can really work on form. You want both legs at 90 degrees and just practice that first. When that gets easy, then you can get away from the wall. And then when that gets easy, you can add in weights. You can add like a 5, 8, 10-pound dumbbell in each hand. You'll have to progress through those. Or you can add something like a small step, like an aerobic step, and work on lunging and then stepping up. That would be a little bit more advanced, but that is one way if you're already good at lunges to make them harder so you can get stronger this year. Okay, and then last exercise is going to be the back row. So far we've hit the plank, which is for your core, your shoulders. We've hit the fire hydrant, which is for your glutes. We've hit squats, which is for your legs and your glutes and your core. We've hit push-ups, which is for chest, shoulders, back, and arms. And we've hit lunges, which is for legs, glutes, and a little bit of core because it does require quite a bit of balance. Last one is for the back. A lot of people, especially at home, tend to forget the back exercises because it's hard to do a lot of these at home without specific equipment. But that's where resistance bands are awesome. So all you need is either a very sturdy object that you can wrap a band around, or most bands come with a door anchor. You slip it into a door, shut the door, and then it holds it in place. And then there's a couple different versions of back rows. You can either pull back this way with your hands facing in, or you can turn your palms towards the floor and pull back this way. So you're pulling back, squeeze, and then release. Pull back, squeeze, release. And like the other exercise, you want to focus on a very tight core and a little bit of a bend in your knees to give you a really strong base through here, and then focus on that squeeze between your shoulder blades. You can regress this, make it a little bit easier by using a lighter weight. So a lighter resistance band, even like a therapy type band. You can do it by sitting on the floor and wrapping the band around your feet instead of standing and doing it. You can make it harder by increasing the weight, obviously, make it a harder weight, or also by coming back and holding it even longer. So if maybe you're getting a little bit strong for your resistance bands, then you can try holding it for longer periods of times or going higher reps. So that would be true for all of these exercises. Is if you're working out at home and you're trying to make things a little bit harder so you can get stronger, is to do more reps and to do them slower and hold certain positions longer. So like in a push-up, you can come down and hold it at the bottom for a few seconds and then come up. You can slow down how long it takes you to get to the ground and then come back up. So all of those will help to make these things strong, make these harder so that you can get stronger at home, even if you don't have all the weights inside of a gym. Give me 1 second. I'm just reading the questions. Just a question about rolling and knots, which is always a major issue when you're trying to get stronger, is ending up with knots in your muscles. And that is actually another point that I wanted to share. Getting a little long on this, sorry, but stretching is also another key component of strength, is making sure that you are stretching and foam rolling to keep knots out of your muscles. If you think about like a, oh gosh, what's it called? Not a catapult, but a, totally forgetting the word. Slingshot. A slingshot. If you hold a slingshot and pull it back, the further you can pull it, the more power you get, and it releases with more power. If someone tied a knot in that slingshot and you pulled, you wouldn't be able to pull back as far. And so the power is not as great going forward. So stretching, that's what knots are like in your muscles. If you have knots in your muscles, it's like someone tied a knot in that slingshot and you can't get as much power because you don't have your full range of motion. So it's really important to foam roll and to stretch your muscles before and or after you work out to help keep them loose, help keep them mobile, prevent pain, and allow you to get stronger. So someone's asking, what do you recommend for injuries where you've got a bunch of knots? He has knots along the spinal side of his scapula. I need something like a foam roller that can help work those knots out. Any ideas? Yes, Jay, I don't know if you're still on, but I have those same issues. It's really common to get like right along the scapula, the shoulder blades, to get a lot of knots in there. Things like the back row I just showed you will definitely do that. And it can be very painful. So it's really important to keep those rolled out. A couple of things, you might already have this. So a foam roller can be really good for that, but even better is either a lacrosse ball or a softball if you're not already using these. So these you can lie down on the ground on your back and put them between your spine and your scapula and just roll around until you feel it on those spots and kind of dig in there and sit on there and let that dig into the painful spot. That will help to release the knots in there. Sometimes a softball might get in there a little bit better. These are also really good for the glutes. I like the lacrosse ball better for the shoulder and back knots. A foam roller works too. It just usually won't get in there as deeply. So what I would recommend is foam rolling till you feel like you've worked the heck out of the knots and loosen them up a little bit. Then to stretch it after that. So after you foam roll, then do your stretching, because now the muscle is a little bit looser, so it's going to respond to the stretch better. It's going to be able to stretch further. So things like this, bringing it up this way, bringing it down here. If possible, when you're against a wall or on the floor, you want to kind of move your arm and stretch it at the same time as you're rolling, kind of move it through all these different ranges of motion. That will also, it's kind of an active release therapy technique that will help loosen that up. And then you can also do like a longer static stretch like this, or using a band to help pull your arm in one direction. Like I could attach a band to this squat rack and let the resistance of the band pull my arm this way to kind of help assist the stretch. Massage is a huge help. Like a good massage therapist can definitely get in there in a way that these things, it's just harder to do it to yourself. But massage will definitely help that. And then kind of regularly doing some lighter exercises. Like I would suggest warming up with something like a back row, a lat pull down, and using a light weight and doing maybe like 20 reps just to kind of like warm up and prep the muscle and getting it working through that range of motion. So ideal if you have a knot that's bothering you in a certain area, just to recap, foam roll first with either a longer foam roller or a ball like this. Try and dig those knots out a little bit, then stretch it to help open that up. Then go through kind of a warm-up movement, so you can kind of swing your arms, things like that, or do something like a really light shoulder press or body weight squats if you're having issues with not somewhere else, or a back row, something like that. So Jay, I hope that makes sense. Let me know afterwards if you have more questions on that, or if you've tried those and need other techniques. But definitely rolling and then continuing to use that muscle, but like in a lighter, with a lighter weight and a lighter movement more often. That'll help. Hi Chris. So those will help kind of release some of that pain, hopefully. So try that. And then just kind of give it a break sometimes if you've been going really heavy and that knot's really bothering you. But getting it moving and getting the blood flowing around there helps to loosen it up quite a bit. Beyond that, there are things like electrodes and things that you can use if you're still having issues, but try the self-massage tools first, and then a masseuse can always help with that as well. Okay, so I've gone totally longer than I planned on, but trying to answer questions and give some helpful information. So I hope that's helpful. Just to recap, we went through how to start building strength for beginners and intermediates to get a little bit stronger this year, starting small and building from there. We just covered stretching and the importance of that for lengthening your muscles so that you can get them stronger. Talked about nutrition, eating enough, eating whole foods, and eating enough protein, and the calculations for how much protein to eat and different types of protein. Talked about speaking life over yourself and praying through some of your issues, asking God for help, and then speaking out who you are and who you want to be, rather than telling yourself what you can't do or who you're not, or you're not fit, or you're not healthy. And then gave some exercises, some basic but very efficient full body exercises that are great for home, great for starting, and great for advanced people in order to help you get stronger this year. Again, I just kind of have this sense like this season, we need to be strong. We need to be mentally, physically, emotionally strong. And becoming physically stronger translates into all those areas of life to help us be ready for whatever it is that we're going to face, or just to build a better life that we want, to not have another year like last year, but to be more resilient, more prepared, and even to build a stronger, healthier, better life. So these small daily habits will kind of help chip away at that and help get you stronger in 2021. So I hope that is helpful to you all. If you have more questions after this, feel free to send me a message on Instagram Messenger, or you can email me at renewalfitcoach@gmail.com. I would love to help you out with some of these things, helping to create a workout program, helping to create a nutrition program, or just kind of some basic check-in health coaching. So I'm pretty flexible and customizable with programs. If you are interested in getting training, if you mention this video before the end of the month, I will give you $10 off of any package. So just mention the Getting Stronger Facebook Live that you watched it, and to get $10 off of any training or nutrition program. All right, thanks so much for joining today, hanging in, asking questions. And for those who will watch after this, thanks for watching, and please go ahead and share this with other people that you think it might be helpful. Pass it along or leave their name in the comments so they can watch it as well. This will stay up on my page for future reference. So thanks again for coming. Hope to see you guys here again soon, and have a great rest of your week.